History is full of warriors who struck fear into the hearts of their enemies. Men and women who didn't just fight in battle, they dominated them, leaving behind legacies that echo through time. In today's video, we're counting down the top 10 scariest real warriors in history. These warriors were as ruthless as they were skilled, and they didn't just win battles, they changed history. Kicking off our list at number 10 is Miyamoto Musashi, the most famous samurai in Japanese history. Born in 1584, Musashi was a master swordsman and philosopher who developed a fighting style that made him unbeatable. At the age of 30, he had already won over 60 duels, all of them to the death. What's even scarier, Musashi used not one but two swords in combat, a technique that was unheard of at the time. His most famous duel was against Sasaki Kojiro, where Musashi arrived late on purpose to unsettle his opponent, then killed him with a wooden sword. Strategic mind, combined with his unmatched skill, made Musashi a living legend feared by all. Musashi didn't just rely on brute strength, he was a master of mental warfare. His unorthodox methods, like arriving late to duels, were designed to disorient and psychologically break his opponents before they even drew their swords. At number 9, we have Hardrada, the Viking king who earned the nickname the Thunderbolt of the North. Born in 1015, Harald's life reads like an action movie. By the time he was 15, he was already fighting in brutal Viking battles. After being exiled, Harald traveled to the Byzantine Empire, where he became the leader of the Varangian Guard, an elite unit of Viking mercenaries. His ruthlessness and tactical genius were so terrifying that even the Emperor of Byzantium feared betrayal by his own commander. Next up at number 8 is Vlad the Impaler, the real-life inspiration for Dracula. Vlad was far scarier than any vampire. Born in 1431, Vlad ruled the region of Wallachia, and he became infamous for his gruesome method of execution. His enemies were impaled alive on wooden stakes, their bodies left to rot as a warning to invaders. Legend has it that Vlad once impaled 20,000 Ottoman soldiers in a single day, creating a forest of the impaled that could be seen from miles away. Can you imagine facing that? At number 7 is one of the most feared female warriors in history, Tomo Goen. A samurai who lived during Japan's Genpei War in the 12th century, Tomo was one of the few women to ever fight alongside men in battle. Described as having superhuman strength, she was an expert with both the bow and the sword, and she often led charges on the battlefield. Her reputation was so fearsome that rival samurai were said to have trembled at the sight of her on horseback. Coming in at number 6 is the legendary King Leonidas of Sparta. Known for his heroic last stand at the Battle of Thermopylae in 480 BC, Leonidas and his 300 Spartans faced the overwhelming might of the Persian Empire. While the odds were impossible, tens of thousands of Persians against only a few hundred Spartans, Leonidas didn't waver. His strategy of using the narrow pass at Thermopylae to funnel Persian forces turned the battle into a bloodbath. Leonidas knew he was marching to his death, but his refusal to retreat made him a terrifying figure to his enemies. His ability to inspire his men to fight to the last breath, combined with the brutal efficiency of Spartan warfare, turned him into a symbol of resistance and strength. Even in death, Leonidas's name became a rallying cry for the Greek city-states, inspiring them to unite against the Persian threat. At number 5, we have Genghis Khan, the man who built the largest contiguous empire in history. Born in 1162 on the Mongolian steppes, Genghis Khan united the Mongol tribes and led his armies to conquer lands from China to Europe. His terrifying military tactics included psychological warfare, scorched earth policies, and mass slaughter. Entire cities were wiped off the map by his forces, and survivors were often left with horrific tales of Mongol cruelty. One of Genghis Khan's most feared tactics was his use of feigned retreats, where his forces would appear to flee in panic, only to lure their enemies into deadly ambushes. His army's ability to move swiftly across vast distances, combined with their unmatched skill as horse archers, made them nearly impossible to defeat. By the time of his death, Genghis Khan had conquered more land than anyone in history. Budika, the warrior queen of the Iceni tribe, ranks at number 4. In AD 60, after the Romans brutally mistreated her family and seized her lands, Budika led one of the bloodiest revolts in Roman history. With an army of over 100,000 Celtic warriors, she laid waste to Roman settlements in Britain, including London, which she burned to the ground. Budika's ferocity was unmatched. She didn't just want to defeat the Romans, she wanted to erase their presence from her homeland. Coming in at number 3 is Attila the Hun, one of the most feared enemies of the Roman Empire. Known as the Scourge of God, Attila led his Hunnic forces to plunder, pillage, and destroy entire cities across Europe in the 5th century. His ability to command an army of ruthless horsemen, combined with his use of terror tactics, made him one of the most terrifying figures of his time. At number 2 is Shaka Zulu, the warrior king who transformed the Zulu nation into a military powerhouse. Born in 1787, Shaka revolutionized warfare in southern Africa, creating a system of close combat fighting that devastated his enemies. His use of the short stabbing spear, known as the Ikalwa, allowed his warriors to engage their enemies in brutal close-quarters combat. Shaka was more than just a warrior. He was a brilliant strategist who reorganized his army into deadly fighting units. His ruthless training methods and his policy of executing any warrior who showed fear or hesitation made the Zulu army one of the most feared in Africa. Shaka's reign of terror expanded his kingdom by conquering surrounding tribes, leaving a trail of devastation and fear. And finally, at number 1, we have Alexander the Great, the ultimate warrior king. Born in 356 BC, Alexander was a tactical genius who never lost a battle. By the time he was 32, he had conquered the entire known world, from Greece to Egypt, Persia, and parts of India. His lightning-fast military campaigns and his ability to inspire his soldiers made him a terrifying force on the battlefield. One of Alexander's most terrifying tactics was his ability to adapt to any situation. At the Battle of Gaugamela, he faced a Persian army twice the size of his own, yet he outmaneuvered them with a combination of speed and brilliant strategy. Alexander personally led his men into battle, fighting alongside them and often delivering the killing blow to enemy leaders. His ability to conquer entire empires with precision and ruthlessness earned him a legacy as one of the most feared and respected military leaders in history.